Hi, welcome to Sacred Enzyme. I'm Stacy. I hope you're doing well today. I want to talk a little bit more about Archangel Michael. I've been doing a lot more reading in here, and I've been studying some other stuff, but mainly I want to talk about Archangel Michael, and I want to talk about him being a dualistic nature. Because after all this studying and my meditating and the stuff that I get when I'm dreaming and different things, I just keep going from one thing to another, and it's just kind of putting together a whole puzzle of things. And I want to share like the highlights of it and why I think this. And I actually think that it is all a matter of our perspective, and that if we change our the way that we're thinking, you change our vibrations, because we manifest our own reality, right? Okay. So when I first started this channel, like the first couple videos I did and the research that I was doing, I was just getting amazed at the level of just deceit that we've been in such a veil. And the more that I learned, it was like I was shocked at first, and then I became like not shocked. It was just kind of like my eyes were just completely open, and I could just see things everywhere. It's like you don't really pay attention to something. It's just like when you buy a new car and all of a sudden you see all the cars that look just like yours, same color. You see like a million of them on the road and you never noticed them before. So what I want to talk about is Archangel Michael's dualistic nature. And we were talking about in one of the other videos how the pyramids, I was talking about the law of one and the ray material, and that they built the pyramids, and that they were from Venus, and that they were the ones that created this reality that we're in, this physical reality. Okay. So I've been getting that, there's so much more. It's like we need to talk about like Lucifer and all of this stuff, because I think that it says that Lucifer, when you look up stuff on Lucifer, it talks about Lucifer being the morning star and being from Venus. Okay, so if we think about it like this, the universe that we are in is all polarity. It's darkness and light, and you have to have them because they hold everything together like the figure 8, right? It's one string, and it's two opposite sides that hold it all together. So if you don't have dualisticness in the universe, we could never exist here on the planet. We have to have the duality to have the experience, right? Okay, so let's look at it this way. So this was an experiment. All of these higher angelic, whatever you want to call them, beings, because they're up high in the realms, up close to source. The bird beings are the first emanation, and that's what the word bird means, according to my teacher. And they came here, and they brought a lot of stuff, like the pyramids were built from the top down, and these megalithic buildings that are all positioned around the world. That was because they set up the planetary grid, and they said it was said through the ray law of one channelings that they were built with forever cement. So this is why they're still here. Okay, so when they came here, it was a duality experiment. So who's holding the grids, right? We had to have somebody holding the grid. So we had what they call Lucifer holding the dark grid. But it didn't mean that Lucifer, which actually that's Angel Holiel, it's this angel's name has been changed, as the identity of just Lucifer in general has been twisted, and it goes from when you go from excuse me, the old Hebrew excuse me, I lit an incense in here today, and boy, I tell you what, it got me sneezing like crazy. I had to take it out of here. So when you go and look at the old Hebrew text, Lucifer's not denoted like that, but we're going to go over it. So what I think is, that Lucifer was made an incarnation of evil because it was put that way, and then it was massively projected and manifested. All right. Now, say that we have all of these extraterrestrial. I'm going to say extraterrestrial because the ones that travel interdimensionally are high vibration. So extraterrestrials, the ones that are traveling here, you know, and that can stay here in third dimension. Like, this is why a lot of these founder races are not here, because their vibration is too high and the planet's vibration is too low, because they've these other Orion groups that's come here, and they've gotten malware in their DNA because of hybridization. So they've basically lowered the frequency of the planet, because they can't survive on our planet unless the frequency's low. So when we change the frequency, they can't stay here. So one of the ways that this long game has been played out is ever since these group of Zetas, these Necromatons, and they got involved with Nazi Germany. When they got involved with Nazi Germany, you started having all of these experimentations going on. It was because they needed ways to stay here, and they survived on terror, torment, trauma, and this is what this is all about. And you know, the interesting thing is that they can give you holograms. So a lot of we've come to pretty much figure out that a lot of this ritualistic stuff that happens is targeted at certain bloodlines because of the enzymes, you know, the glands, and what you can get from those glands. And a lot of them are born in these generational incest families, and it goes way back. And the reason that is because these beings, these extraterrestrial beings, they have to have these low frequency things to survive here. So what a better way than you could program these kids. You can fracture their minds, right? Then you can overlay all kind of stuff on them where they, you know, they think that that there's monsters that are, you know, from hell that are after them, when these are beings from other places that are here, low frequency, and they're harvesting the energy. Our biophotons and our glands is what, and you know, adrenal is just a buzz. It's like a buzz, you know. Have you ever had to take steroids when you got sick? You clean the house and you'll be up for 3 days cleaning. I mean, you have so much energy, you just work yourself to death, and you're like, man, I feel so great. So yeah, I can imagine that, you know, it'd be like taking steroids all the time. You'd be feeling good, but you know, that's sickening. That's sickening. You know, but the level of intelligence is because their technology they came from higher realms, but they were on the anti-particle portion of it. They were playing the dark side, you know. And see, this is how this has to be, because even in the fourth dimension, you have dark and you have light. And it's polarity, and it has to exist. It has to exist. We have harmonic universes of antiparticle and particle. And so if we're here on this earth, right, and we have to have this grid, held, somebody's got to hold it. Somebody's got to hold it. So Lucifer was holding it. Halil was holding it. And this was, I believe this was Archangel Michael's counterpart. They started as the winged lion, which was the dragon lion, because Archangel Michael became the lion, and that's very masculine. And then we have the dragon mother, which was the feminine aspect of Archangel Michael, because, you know, they're androgynous. You know, they don't have to have all that stuff. But to come into this reality, you do, right? You have to have a physical body. You have to make a choice. And sometimes I think that this might be how some people that they can't make a choice when they're born, and so they're confused. They're confused, or they may be gay because they couldn't make a decision about what gender they wanted to be because they came from another solar system, and they didn't have to pick. They didn't have to pick. They were total masculine and feminine all imbued together. And, you know, there's a lot of kids that are so troubled that suffer from, you know, gender dysphoria. But if they just wake up to the fact that we're all angelic humans and that they probably are, you know, one of these 3 waves of indigo kids coming in, and they just don't realize that they need to get busy doing other things except worrying about what they want to be, you know, as far as their gender. It's way past that. It's way past that. Get involved in your community and just be yourself. You don't have to be something. See, this is all these labels. So what ended up happening is we assigned labels to Lucifer, and we created embodiment of this in order to hold this grid together. And now we're at the ascension cycle. But, you know, there's these myths and there's these things that I ran across about the dragon, the original dragon mother, which, you know, I think that she's holding the grid, you know, broke off into, I think it was 5 or 6 parts. And then we had all of the elements that came from that to hold the planet. Like, you know, so all of the elements, the elementals, that's actually the mother dragon's energy that fractured off to hold the grid. So if we have manifested this reality, this makes sense about the whole thing about Eve sinning and falling. You know, if you manifest something on something long enough, and you project it on it enough, it'll become that, because this is a universe of law of attraction, right? So this is why we have to work so hard to give the Divine Mother her credit, so we can all ascend. So Archangel Michael can have his other half of his collective back. He has to get his collective back, and we have to bring the Mother Dragon out of, you know, out of stasis, and with love and empathy. So I want to share some things that I came across in the Angel book, because this Angel Encyclopedia, I mean, it's really, really good. And the guy that wrote this did a lot of research on this. Tons of references in here where he marks everything. So I'm just finding a lot of evidence, guys. I'm just finding a lot of evidence. So I'm gonna start with Lucifer. Okay, so this is what it says about Lucifer. It says that Lucifer is also called light giver, erroneously equated with fallen angel Satan. It says this was due to a misreading of Isaiah 14:12. And then this is the quote. It says, "How art thou fallen from heaven, Lucifer, son of the morning?" So it means they were wondering how he got here. He fell from heaven. So this was taken out of context. This one passage was taken out of context, which turned Lucifer into Satan. It says, it should be pointed out that the authors of the books of the Old Testament knew nothing of fallen or evil angels and do not mention them. This is because they knew about the law of one, and that this was all about duality and balance and moderation. Okay? Being stewards to the planet. It says in Job 4:18, the Lord put no trust in his angels and charged them with folly, which would indicate that angels were not all they should be. So yeah, maybe what they call angels, he was not, what we call God was unhappy about the fact that they were coming here and they were going outside of the rules of the game, because they figured out the rules of the game. It's like the kids now, they're so smart that they think of ways to still obey the rules and get around them at the same time. You know, kids are just smart. Well, I mean, this is probably kind of like the same thing. They were coming down here and they were wanting to have hands-on experience here. Everybody wanted to be a part of this learning that was happening on Earth. You know, you could have a body here. I mean, you could experience all kind of things with your vagal nerve. I mean, there's all kind of stuff. You know, you got to have sex. This was a sex planet. It's what they said in the Urantia books, you know. And maybe everything in the Urantia books isn't true, but there's a lot of things in there that I really think are. And maybe everything that you read in Ashiana Dean's teachings, you know, maybe there's some things in there that's not 100% accurate, but maybe there are too. You know, don't throw the baby away in the bath with the bathwater, because, you know, I know there's a lot of people that are saying that her teachings were infiltrated. But, you know, she had a very thorough catalog of original teachings that were extremely thorough. I mean, extremely thorough. Because I'm familiar with people who know her very well and know these original teachings. And it was quite insurmountable amount of work. It was a lot of stuff and extremely detailed. I mean, like, way too detailed to make up. But, you know, despite all that, it was what happened was hybridization. It was hybridization. It was people coming here from other planets because they were fighting and they were blowing their stuff up, and they were homeless, and they were coming because they didn't have nowhere to go. And then when they came here, this was a great place to go, because this is kind of like, if you go back and, you know, if you're going back and forth to Tampa and Orlando every other day, you'd want to live in the middle. So this is kind of like what they do. They was using the earth for the stargates and everything else to you know, go interdimensionally and extra-dimensionally, you know, in physical form and non-physical form, you know, because not all of these beings have physical bodies, but some of them do. Fourth dimension does. Okay, so it says that Lucifer connotes star and applies to the morning or evening star of Venus. So here we go, back to Venus again. The brightest angel, even the child of light. So, okay. I mean, I always ask my most responsible child to do, Alexa, stop. I always ask my most responsible child to do the hardest job if I need help, right? So maybe it was the hardest job was to hold the negative or the dark portion of the grid. And apparently in old times, they didn't consider this evil. They just considered it duality and polarity. It was something that happened that came along later. It's when people's brains started getting messed up because they were hybridizing with these extraterrestrial beings that were coming in here. And, you know, I'm sure it wasn't against their, it was not, you know, with their blessing, if you know what I mean. You know, these people were genetically modified the old-fashioned way or the high-tech way. Who knows? So the other thing is that I want to read a little bit about Archangel Michael. I highlighted some things that I thought was interesting that kind of denotes this scenario that I'm thinking. It says that Michael ranks as the greatest of all angels in Jewish, Christian, or Islamic writings. He derives originally from the Chaldeans. He's the chief order of the virtue, chief of archangels, prince of the present, angel of repentance, righteousness, mercy, and sanctification, also the ruler of the fourth heaven. And then it says here, it says that Midrash Rabbah, Exodus 18, credits Michael with being the author of the whole of Psalm 85. Okay, now this was interesting, so I got out my C.S. Lewis Bible and I wanted to read over Psalm 85. Okay, so if you think about what we just talked about and you think about it in that context, okay, let's think about Michael and Lucifer, or Halil. They are in this experiment to hold the grid. Michael's the protector of man. And then we have Halil that's holding the shadow aspect of Michael, you know, because they're masculine and feminine. Michael takes the form of the lion because they were a dragon lion or a griffin. Okay, and then we had the dragon that holds the grid. Then we had the bird people that came here. We had, so, you know, the bird people came here from Venus. After this grid was set up, they were trying to teach the law of one. They had the pyramids and everything. Okay, so say that we got Halil that's holding the grid and they're coming for an ascension cycle, because the last one that Venus came to ascend, you know, harvest the planet. They come to harvest the planet because this was their grid structure. When they come to harvest the planet and help the souls that are here from the experiment come on out, you know. Like the last 75,000 years ago that they came here every 75,000 years to do a harvest, not too many souls left. And they said that that was because some of them opted to stay here. They wanted to stay here, even though they could have went to fourth dimension. They opted to stay here. Now, the interesting thing is that that could have been either for particle or antiparticle fourth dimension. Okay? So you could have essentially both sides of the coin that stayed here for the last 75,000 years, right? Yes, we could. We could have, because you can be ascended. You can be promoted into fourth grade on the fourth grade, you know, antiparticle, or you can be promoted to the fourth grade light particle. You either go dark or light. It's all about polarity. You have to, you know, but you know, you would think, okay, well, how could somebody be promoted to an antiparticle, you know? But you have to. It has to happen. And a lot of these people a lot of these beings that go up in these dimensions, it's because they know the secrets. They get someone else to do their dirty work, kind of like the mob, right? Mob mentality keeps the karma off of you. So think about Michael and Halio, okay? Think about them being separated. Think about this experiment going wrong. Think about all these people being stuck here, okay? And you're homesick. Okay, now I'm going to read it. Lord, you were favorable to your land. You restored the fortunes of Jacob. You forgave the iniquity of your people. You pardoned all their sin. You withdrew all your wrath. You turned from your hot anger. Restore us again, O God of our salvation, and put away your indignation towards us. Will you be angry with us forever? Will you prolong your anger to all generations? Will you not revive us again, so that your people may rejoice in you? Show us your steadfast love, O Lord, and grant us your salvation. They're asking for help, man. They're like, are you mad at us? Where is, you know, we need help here, right? Let me hear what God, the Lord, will speak. For he will speak peace to his people, to his faithful, to those who turn to him in their hearts. Surely his salvation is at hand for those who fear him, that his glory may dwell in our land. Steadfast love and faithfulness will meet. Righteous and peace will kiss each other. It almost sounds like him being reunited. Steadfast love and faithfulness will meet. Righteousness and peace will kiss each other. Faithfulness will spring up from the ground, and righteousness will look down from the sky. It sounds like that's when you got the moment right there that the Divine Mother came back and Michael brings back his pieces, his original 2 pieces in this ascension. And this is Ascension 4.0 for us. This is what it is. The Lord will give what is good, and our land will yield its increase. Righteousness will go before him and will make a path for his steps. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So, I mean, there's a lot in here about Michael, but it also talks about Michael is, it says here that Michael was the fire that Moses saw in the burning bush had the appearance of Michael, and who had descended from heaven as the forerunner of the Shekinah. And that means the presence of God in a place. So this means this was Michael, who was the forerunner of the presence of God's in this place. And when they were talking about God, they were talking about Yahweh. So this means that Archangel Michael came before all of these other Elohai gods, these Elohai Elohim gods that were here, these Nibiru people, these Martians, all of these the angels, Michael, they set this grid up. They set up the earth grid. So this is Archangel Michael, you know, so he has to close the game. He really does. He really does. This is why so many people are talking to the Divine Mother right now and Archangel Michael, because you're here from Venus. You're here from Venus. You're here from Venus. You're a wanderer soul from Venus, and you are here to wake up Mother. So we're here to wake up the Mother. We're going to wake the sleeping dragon, and we're going to wake her up so nice with like a cup of coffee, and she's going to wake up in such a good mood. And it's going to be 4.0, baby. It's going to be 4.0. So it says, as the angel of the final reckoning and the weigher of souls, he holds his hands in the scales of justice. So are they saying that Michael is signifying Libra, which is also Venus? And then if you go back in all the inscriptions that are all over the pyramid, they show all these scales, right? With these birds and these feathers and stuff. I mean, come on. Come on. They set this grid up. We're part of an angelic collective. And it's our job to wake up the Mother, to restore the golden age. But we're not going to, we're remembering. So they let us wake up this time so we don't mess up this time. You know, I don't want to be here another 75,000 years. So it says that he is also said to inform the fallen angels of the deluge. So that means that Michael set up the grid, in my opinion. He came to set up the grid, and then when things were going on in the other areas, realms of heaven, he came down and gave them a heads up, because these were, you know, these were all collectives of people that had come from other planets. You know, Michael set this up. This was his baby. Why would he want it to fail? You know? So they say that Archangel Michael has a secret name, and it's called Sabathiel, S-A-B-A-T-H-I-E-L. And it says in Jewish Kabbalah, it means a spirit intelligence of the planet Saturn. So I don't know. And it talks about he's one of 7 princes, and who stand continually before God, and to whom are given the spirit names of the planets. So, I don't know. I thought that was interesting. And then the last thing is on the word Satan, on the angel Satan. So it says that Satan, the Hebrew meaning of the word is adversary. It means adversary. And that it didn't, that this stuff didn't start changing until we had different testaments of the Bible. The New Testament times writings is when he emerges as Satan, the prince of evil and army of God. But originally, this was just talking about an office or a job of a person that was an adversary. It was their job to be the opposite of you. It was their job to challenge you. So, did we manifest a Satan and a Lucifer? Because this is a law of attraction and projecting, right? So I ran across, I love this channel on YouTube called Age of Truth. There's a guy on there named Lucas Alexander. And I gotta say, I keep thinking that in his past life he was Liberace, but he is so pretty. He has the most angelic face. He looks like an angel. I kid you not. You can look at him. He has the face of an angel. And I guarantee you that he knows how to do every kind of thing. Music, art, painting, everything. He looks like, seriously, he looks like an angel walking. Not kidding. Anyway, he has this YouTube channel, and he had this lady on, and her name was Kathy O'Brien. And she was talking about her MK Ultra growing up and all of this stuff. But she is an old timer. Like, this was happening to her in the 60s, 50s and 60s. No, 60s and 70s. The first person that ever bought her was Gerald Ford as a toddler. Yes. And you can go on there and watch it, and she tells you, she's wrote books. She had a congressional testimony. I mean, it's just some serious stuff, folks. But what she was saying is, she was saying that they overlay all of these manifestations of stuff being like satanic and stuff like that. but it's actually not. It's actually these beings that are extraterrestrial that have come here, and that they've fallen so far from source that they are literally as bad as you can get. They're very low frequency. They shouldn't even be in this dimension. This 3 dimension is the only reason they're staying here is because they keep humanity in a constant state of sickness, fear, illusions, zombie state, you know, materialism, all kind of stuff, distractions, magnetic overload. I mean, people are in such a siphonable state that they just suck us. We are walking around, we are literally human batteries that every time we have a war, every time that we have a storm, every time that we have all of these created events, it allows them to siphon us, because they can't stay here unless we're terrified and scared or angry or emotional, because they need emotions, low vibrational emotions, to inhabit the space. So this is what all of this stuff is about, because they introduced themselves to Nazi Germany and the experiment started. These were very intelligent beings that came, they're called Zetas, and they came from Zeta Reticuli. And this is your grays, and this is your men in black, this is your bug people, this is what they call archons. You know, these beetle type creatures. All of these are, and what happened was that they artificially made themselves artificially enhanced instead of doing humanity. They wanted to go with tech and AI, and they lost their ability to eat, they lost their ability to reproduce, so they came back in time. And this is where they got their shoe-in, was with the Nazi party. And then you had the experimentations that were on people, and they used the Jewish people because of their DNA code, because they're very old bloodlines that come from Atlantis, and they had the full activated strand code. This is why Jewish people are so smart. They're smart. They're really smart. They're the doctors and the lawyers. It's because they're naturally smart. They're smart, you know, and it's because they have more active DNA strands. And so these people were experimented on, and they're also the favorite of these groups now. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. You know, these harvestings that go on in, you know, in the underground. It's all about these genetics. They love these particular genetics. So, and the Irish. And so this is what I found was interesting, because this lady's name is Kathy O'Brien. You know, the O'Brien name, that comes from old clan. We're talking super old clan in Ireland. And she talks about how it's an overlay. It's a projection, because, see, they have to hold the grid. They want to keep the grid held. So if they have everybody believing that it's because we've got demons, they're not demons. Well, they act like what we would consider demons, but they're extraterrestrial beings that are inhabiting our planet. They're not interdimensional. If you're seeing something extraterrestrial, then if a ship's landing in your yard, then there's probably an agenda, right? If they're traveling interdimensionally and they're picking they're talking to your spirit when you're sleeping, and you're communicating through that way, that's interdimensionally. That's because their frequency is really high. Their frequency is really high. Like, I wake up with nosebleeds. I've had 2 nosebleeds this past week from getting these downloads. It causes a lot of pressure in my head. And I'm always having problems with my sinuses. I really have since I was born. I can't ever remember not a time. But, you know, go watch that interview with Kathy O'Brien. I think it's an incredible interview. But I really do think that the Divine Mother is holding the polarity of the planetary grid for Earth while this experiment's been going on. And now it's time for us to ascend Everybody's got to wake up, but we got to wake her up because we've projected so much mass shit onto her that she doesn't even know who she is. But I really feel like she's waking up. I really, really do, because we're waking up. And, you know, we have a lot of love for the Divine Mother. We know what's happened. We know. And we know why we're here. We know why we're here, too. So with that, you know, we have to start looking at things as, you know, these situations as like, you know, what's fallen, what's not fallen. Is it really fallen? Is it really super evil that people were trying to get involved in this genetic experiment? Well, yeah, if they were a low vibrational frequency and people were being violated against their will. See, because we don't know our spiritual and we don't know our galactic origins, and we think that we're just here and that we're just these beings here and we're here to chase everything and have as much fun, and then we die, fall in love and all that stuff. And that's part of it. But we're also here to be guardians to the planet and love the earth, you know, and have so much more of an experience, you know, instead of the 7 to 5, 7 to 6 days, 6 days a week, you know. And nobody wants to have to go through that. That takes away from the enjoyment in life. And see, you know, when we go into the 4th dimension, a lot of this enjoyment will be restored. It'll be restored because we'll be kissing and hugging back with our love, which is, you know, bringing heaven and earth back together. So I think it's actually, you know, I'm kind of glad that what it is just a projection, and that we can, just by loving and knowing who we are and loving each other and you know, and following the laws of one and loving the planet, that we can change everything. We really can. We really can. We can manifest our own future. And in the golden age of one, is better than any golden age that's ever been, because there's been many before, but this one's going to be the best one. They planned for this one. So with that, when you come and find me, I'll be here. We're living in the past, present, and the future all at the same time. I'm sorry this video was so long. It's just a kind of a touchy subject because, you know, when you're breaking down these barriers of thought patterns, you know, because this whole thing with Archangel Michael has just like tore me apart. I'll be honest about it. I've spent so much time thinking about this and you know, talking to Source about this, and you know, I'm just like, this just can't be real. This just cannot be real, because I feel very connected to Archangel Michael. I do not know why. And you know, I've met Lorna Byrne before, and Archangel Michael is her companion. So I know that this is not an accident. I know it. It's not an accident. It's meant for me to figure this stuff out, because, you know, we all have to figure out what's really going on. We got to really figure out what's going on so we can change. And then we can make it so right this next time. This is what it's all about. So just, I can't wait. I'm looking so forward to this year. I really feel like so many wonderful things are going to happen this year. A lot of things are going to happen. There is going to be some things that probably are not that great, because, you know, this polarity stuff, you know, it takes a while to work it out. But, you know, I see it every day. I see so many more people just really knowing who they are and waking up. And it's a wonderful thing to see. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. I love it. So with that, I hope to catch you on the next one. Don't forget to push that little wheel up in the corner and speed the video up, so you don't have to listen to me take so long to talk. You know, I do this all on the fly, and you know, my brain doesn't formulate as fast as it used to. Having too many seizures, you know, there for a time. But you know, I do good. I do the best I can, and I got a heart of gold, and I love you all. So with that, I hope to catch you on the next one, and thanks for watching Sacred Enzyme. Bye-bye.